Shalom. Today I just want to discuss preparation for Passover. We haven't done that, so this is a timely little chat and discussion about Passover. Now, Passover is also known as the covenant meal. It is the first festival that start the whole process, and it's the most important one. As in Hebrew, anything that's mentioned first is more important than something that's mentioned later on. In the same way, Passover is the most important feast because it's the starting point. But yet you might say, but you said Shavuot is the most important one. If you look at the menorah pattern, that is the end goal, and everything supports that final outcome. But the beginning to get access to the process so you can get to that final outcome makes Passover the doorway, the entry point. And if you don't enter through the doorway, you will never have access to Shavuot, which is the most important feast of them all. Sounded a bit ironic, but that's the truth. It's just from another perspective. So the starting point, as someone coming from darkness into light, Passover is the most important one. Shavuot is the most important one for someone who already entered that doorway. Now you aspire towards Shavuot. So that's how it works. It's for two different audiences. So Passover is celebrated within Egypt while they were still sinners and they repented, made a commitment to obey Yahweh's word regarding preparation for that day when they had to leave Egypt, which is the first day of the 7 days, which is the day of unleavened bread. That's actually when they left. So the 14th of Nisan, the day before, is known in the New Testament as the day of preparation. It's preparing for the 15th. So that means that the 15th is actually the main festival event, which lasts for 7 days. And the 14th of Nisan, which has to do with the preparation of the lamb, sacrifice of the lamb, the blood on the doorposts, eating the lamb, burning everything that's left over, standing girded, ready to go at midnight or after midnight. That is what preparation is all about. It's to be ready. So Passover helps you to become ready, to be ready. It's a reminder to be prepared and be ready. And unleavened bread, as I discussed yesterday, is part of the 7 cycle concept. Cycles of 7, which is the transformation process, which relates to the Torah, the festivals, and also the last 7 plagues, also the 7th millennium. Everything has to do with number 7, which is leading into number 8, which is the new beginning, which is the next day after the conversion process or the transformation process, which is preceded by the preparation process. So we're going to look at Passover as the preparation. But there's preparation prior to Passover as well. On the 10th of Nisan, they brought the lamb into the house. They had to look after the lamb, and they got familiar with the lamb. And because there's children in the house, it's like a pet, and you get attached to the lamb. And then on the 14th, between the evenings, that lamb was sacrificed. So it was a heart-wrenching experience for children as well as for family members who grew attached to the lamb. And that is an emotional event. So it's not just about, let's slaughter this lamb and have a lovely barbecue. No, it's about someone that you love, a pet or an animal, now need to die so that I can live. So that's a subtle hint to Mashiach. Those who have a relationship with him understand that his death was an emotional thing for those who understood that he was the Son of God, he was the Messiah, and they looked on to him being tortured and crucified and then put into the grave, placed into the grave. So that's a very, very emotional event that links to this 10th day to the 14th day, which is 4 days. And number 4, of course, is the work of Messiah. And so that's the work of relationship. So part of the preparation that lead up to Passover is having a relationship with Mashiach. Now, when we enter into the 14th day, when we look at the spiritual layer, relationship with Mashiach, preparation, and then understanding the work He's done for us, which is the next day after the 4 days that led into the 14th of Nisan. And that is remembering His sacrifice, remembering His suffering, remembering what He has done for us, because we are in between the two comings. We, after the first coming, on our way to the second coming, and we now can look back and remember. And the reason I'm highlighting that is because Passover, when you look at the leaving Egypt historical event, when they celebrated this feast, they had to remember the plagues, the things that happened, them being enslaved, the bitterness, and all of that. So that is a theme when you do the Passover Seder. You remember those things. But now we can overlay the next layer, which is after the first coming. Now we connect that with the suffering and the work of Messiah and what He's done for us. And we are grateful for both, because the first one, the historical one, is about the spiritual bondage, the spiritual kingdom of Egypt that held us bondage, and the release, and we're being enslaved of that sin and bondage and the kingdom of darkness. And now we are grateful that we left. So that's very important to remember as well, on top of remembering the work of Messiah. But then there's a future component to that as well, and that's linked to the 4 cups, where the 4th cup is the cup that Yeshua said He will drink with us in the kingdom. So there's something to look forward to when we celebrate Passover. So we have the past, we've got the present, and we've got the future. So understanding the preparation part, understanding where we're heading within our present state, that is what Passover is all about. Now, stepping quickly back into preparation. I said there's preparation prior to preparation, because Passover is the preparation for unleavened bread. Unleavened bread was the event of actually physically leaving Egypt. So it's all about setting everything up, gaining strength from the meal that you ate, having the blood so that death can pass you over. So you will be alive, or all your families or members will be alive, so they can live with you as you step out and leave bondage behind. Now, the preparation prior to that preparation is removing the leaven. Now, you cannot celebrate unleavened bread if there's any leaven in your house. So you probably from the 1st of Nisan spend time starting to clean your house of physical leaven, everything with yeast you remove, because that's a symbol of sin in your household. It's also a symbol of sin in your life. And when you do the physical act, the practical act of removing anything to do with yeast or leaven, that is when you do a spiritual connection to that. I physically now remove sin out of my life, and Father, help me to remove that as I remove this physical leaven from my house. So that's a process where you engage with the physical and also engage with Yahweh in the spiritual, going through that process of preparation, which is a soul-searching preparation, where you think about the things in your life that's not 100% right, and ask Yahweh to remove those things. If you struggle with fear and doubt and things about the future and all that, that is not of Him. So we need to ask Yahweh to remove those things. And I think it's very relevant for us now, living in His day, that we don't know what the future holds in the physical realm, and we tend to fear. We go into panic. We think of the worst case, try and prepare and have a back door open and all that. And I know my mind is battling with those things, because I'm prone to, think about what the future holds, think about the worst case scenario and trying to prepare for that. But it's driven by fear. So I need to repent from that personally. So that's my struggle, and that is my leaven that I have to remove from my house. So I encourage you to go through this process of removing leaven from your house, and then we're going to prepare as we celebrate Pesach, which is the preparation and the symbolism of looking back, remembering but also preparing for the next 7 days, which is the actual feast, where we will deliberately eat bread that does not have leaven, as a reminder to train ourselves with the process of becoming holy and clean and removing sin. And it all has to do with food that takes us back to the Garden of Eden, to the original sin. So everything is connected to everything else, and that gives us a future hope that we will eat again a meal with the King as the bride. So that is what we aspire towards, and that's what the Seder meal is all about. So we're going to celebrate it this weekend. I know our Jewish brothers do it earlier, but we follow the moon because unleavened bread is on a full moon. So eat it as close as we can in a practical way to the full moon, and I'm looking forward to celebrate that with people in our area. So I hope you have a lovely Pesach for those who haven't celebrated. For those who have already celebrated, I hope you had a blessed one, and I will speak to you soon. Shalom.